Have you ever looked at our kids, the ones who seem to have every advantage, and just wondered why so many of them are struggling? Well, that's the huge question at the heart of Michelle Borba's book, Thrivers. Today, we're going to dive into her powerful new way of looking at what real success actually is. Let's get right into it. This quote from a 16-year-old named Erin, wow, it just hits you right in the gut, doesn't it? We've pushed our kids so hard to build these impressive resumes, to be ready for college, ready for their careers. But in all that pushing, maybe we forgot to prepare them to just, be human. This is the big dilemma we're going to unpack today. So, first up, we have to understand what Borba calls the strivers epidemic. It's this whole culture of high-stakes, high-pressure achievement that's leaving our kids completely and totally burned out. I mean, they're basically running on empty. To really see what this looks like, let's just talk about Eva's story for a second. On paper, she was the perfect student, right? A 4.3 GPA, her schedule was jammed with AP classes, private swim practice at 4 in the morning. She was doing everything right to chase that perfect college acceptance letter. But behind the scenes, she was drowning, and it all led to her being hospitalized for severe depression. Her story is absolutely heartbreaking, but it's an all too common example of this crisis. And listen, this isn't just about a few isolated cases. The data shows a really disturbing trend. By 2018, an incredible 41% of college freshmen said they felt overwhelmed by everything they had to do. Now, to put that into perspective, back in 1985, that number was just 18%. That is a massive, massive jump in a single generation. And at the exact same time that anxiety is skyrocketing, something else is just plummeting. Over the last 30 years, researchers have tracked a 40% drop in empathy levels among young people. So here's the deal. As the pressure to achieve goes up, the ability to connect with other people, to actually feel with them, is going way, way down. Okay, so here's our game plan for this explainer. We've just started with the problem, the strivers epidemic. Next, we're going to define what it even means to be a thriver. Then, we'll break down the 7 character strengths that make thriving possible. We'll do a quick deep dive into self-confidence. And finally, we'll look at how we can all make that big shift from striving to thriving. All right, so if striving isn't working, what's the alternative? This brings us to the absolute core idea of the book, the thriver. And this is a whole new and, honestly, a much healthier definition of success. And this right here just lays out the difference perfectly. Strivers are amazing at achieving things. They work incredibly hard, but they're also anxious. They tend to quit when things get really tough. And they have this nagging feeling of never ever being good enough. Thrivers, on the other hand, are defined by what's on the inside. They are competent, confident, and caring. They have that resilience to bounce back from adversity and the inner strength to meet the world on their own terms. Now, this idea is backed up by some pretty incredible research, like the groundbreaking Kauai study. For 4 decades, a psychologist named Emmy Werner followed hundreds of high-risk kids, and what she found was just amazing. A full 1/3 of these kids defied all the odds and grew up to be flourishing adults. And their success? It had nothing to do with their GPA or their IQ. It came down to 2 simple things: having at least one caring adult champion in their corner and a set of learned traits, these character strengths, that protected them. So the biggest takeaway here? Thrivers are made, not born. That's a game changer. So, if thrivers are made, how do we make them? Well, Borba gives us a really clear roadmap that's built on what she calls the 7 essential character strengths. And here they are. It all starts with self-confidence. That's the bedrock of who I am. That foundation allows for empathy and integrity, so you can connect with others and have a strong moral compass. Then you get the executive functions, self-control to manage your impulses and curiosity to explore the world. And finally, you get the resilience twins, perseverance to finish what you start, and optimism to find that silver lining. Now, what's so empowering about this list is that every single one of these is a teachable skill. To make this really concrete, we're going to do a quick deep dive into the first, and you could argue the most foundational strength: building real, authentic self-confidence. The key to building this kind of deep confidence is to identify what Borba calls a child's core assets. Now, this isn't about test scores or athletic trophies. This is about their strongest positive qualities, their unique character traits, their signature talents. It's the stuff that truly, genuinely makes them who they are. So what does this actually look like in real life? Well, we're talking about qualities like friendliness or grit or kindness, being a really good listener, empathy, original thinking,
maybe a deep sense of purpose. These are the kinds of qualities that form the bedrock of a child's identity, and from there, their confidence.
So, and this is so crucial. This shifts our focus away from that kind of empty praise. Telling a kid you're so smart after they ace a test can actually backfire because it creates a fear of failure. Authentic confidence gets built when we see and acknowledge their real strengths, their core assets in action. Saying something like, "You showed so much perseverance on that project," is infinitely more powerful.
And this leads to a question for all of us to really think about. Beyond the report card, beyond the resume, what are your child's true core assets? What are those unique sparks that make them who they are? Just recognizing them is the very first step.
Okay, so let's bring this all together. The journey from striving to thriving is a huge shift in perspective. It's really about moving our focus from building a perfect resume to building a whole, resilient human being.
If there's just one thing to take away from this entire explainer, it's this. Our culture, in parenting and in schools, has become obsessed with stretching our kids' brains. But in doing that, we've kind of neglected their human side. The very qualities like empathy, integrity, and perseverance that are the true source of joy, of meaning, and of the strength to bounce back when things get hard.
And that leaves us with one final, really powerful question to sit with. In all of our efforts to prepare our kids for the future, are we building a resume or are we building a human?